Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps with Boxing Social in partnership with Forged Irish Stout, Empire Fight Store, and freebets.com. And I'm joined now with the one and only Dave Coldwell. Dave, it's great to see you here in Riyadh. You know what? I'm still tripping by the fact that we're seeing what we're seeing. Eddie Hearn sat next to Frank Warren. Tyson Fury in the front row at an Anthony Joshua Francis Ngannou fight. If you had told me 5 years ago that this is what we'd be looking at in the state of boxing, I would have thought you were nuts.
I've been watching the build-up on TV. I've seen them all getting together at press conferences, all being in the same space. You think that's mad enough, but you know, when you're here in person, you're seeing it all, and you're just watching the dynamics. We're watching it from up there. It's just mad. It is mad. But listen, it's good for the sport. It's great. It means that we're getting the fights that we want to see. I think there's going to be a lot more fights that we're going to see going forward. It's good times. It really is. It
seems like at the moment, Turki Al-Sheikh has been able to do what we have not been able to do because there are so many politics in boxing. Here, it's very straightforward. You either take the fight. This is what the map looks like to get to this point, and you accept it or you don't.
Yeah. If you want to be involved, in an exciting time in boxing, if you want to push your profile as high as it possibly can, and if you want to earn some serious money, you'll jump on. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't matter to you and you want to stay in your own lane, then you'll not.
Yeah.
That's basically what he's told everybody, and that's how he's running things, and we reap the benefits from it because we get to see the fights that we want to see as fans.
Mm-hmm. Anthony Joshua is under a lot of pressure. I think it's safe to say that he always is. It seems like every fight he's in, it's always like, well, if he loses this one, he's done. He's been having that sort of pressure on him for quite some time. But this is sort of a different thing. This is a bit of a novice fight where we're watching Francis Ngannou, number one, to have done what he done in his performance against Tyson Fury, shocked the world. Again, that's debatable as to what that was, whether or not Francis Ngannou came that prepared, or Tyson Fury... Yeah, or Tyson Fury was maybe perhaps overlooking him a little bit. I don't know. But what we do know is that Anthony Joshua is now in line, and they're saying, and I say that various opinions, if he doesn't beat him, then he's done. What do you think of that?
Well, if he doesn't beat him, he's lost to a guy that's had one fight and lost it, and that's it. And more important than what we all think our opinions of him are and what fans' opinions of him are, it's what does that do to his own confidence, his own self-belief in where he wants to get to in his career. You know, he wants to be world champion again, probably wants to be undisputed. What does that do to your confidence? Having been where you were, had the speed bumps you had, you're trying to bring yourself back, and you get to a position where it's just right there within touching distance, and you get beat by a guy that's had one fight and lost it. That's the bigger question that's going to go on in his mind in terms of how does he move forward, rather than reacting to what we think, because he's probably at a stage in his life where he doesn't care what we think and what fans think, pundits think, anybody thinks, because he's had, like you said, he's had it all the way through his career. Whatever he does, people criticise. If he's vociferous, they criticise. If he's quiet, they criticise.
You're right.
If he bites back, then his performances. If he knocks people out, then people say, he runs out of gas. He can't. If he goes the distance, he's lost his punch. So he's a guy that's never ever going to please anyone.
He can never win.
And he knows that. So he probably doesn't care what we all think anymore. But so the question is, every fight going forward, it's about what does that do to himself, his own confidence.
Well, Johnny Nelson said, and I think he did the interview with Sky, I want to say, that he talked about, or Anthony Joshua had mentioned, that he really only feels like he has 2 fights left after this. What do you make of that, first of all?
Well, he's achieved everything. He's probably thinking his 2 fights are, perhaps the winner of Fury Usyk, maybe a rematch of that fight, or maybe the winner of Fury Usyk and Deontay Wilder. Maybe the 2 fights that get his juices going the most, and then he looks at the landscape and thinks, what is it for me to hang around for? So I can see that.
Linking up with Ben Davison, I was saying to AJ the other day, we saw in your last fight, you let your hands go. He was less apprehensive. Yeah. We haven't really seen and I say this respectfully, we haven't really seen AJ fight the way he did in his last fight. I want to say since he lost to Andy Ruiz Jr. It seemed like he got a little bit more cautious in his fighting style. What do you make of the matchup with Ben?
It's comfortable. I think a fighter has to be comfortable with the coach. I think the whole dynamic has to work. When you're comfortable, you're more confident.
Yeah.
You let things flow more. You don't overthink things. And I think a lot of Joshua's, not failings because he's very successful, a lot of the things that have held him back perhaps from being as free flowing as what he can be is because he's not felt as comfortable. He's probably not as confident because he hasn't felt uncomfortable. I just think that works. That dynamic works. I think he understands the way that Ben coaches, Lee Wiley coaches, informs, and I think it resonates with him. And I think so that allows him just to take care of business in a confident manner. And when AJ lets his shots go with purpose, the man's dangerous, you know? So I think that's where that comes from.
It is a little strange, I'm not going to lie, watching Tyson Fury be in the front row and watching Ben Davison sitting to the right of Anthony Joshua, just because we know the history there with Tyson and Ben. Was that a little surreal for you as well?
Not so much in that because I'd forgotten about that, to be honest, because it's the whole dynamic of everything else. But it's like fighters leave coaches split up fighters, and we're all in the same business. And while their careers are still going, you're gonna, if they're training something the same way, you're gonna bump into it. And you know that's for them to be comfortable with. And from their point of view, if it was me, I would feel a way about that. It'd be weird, but not so much being in the front row. But if my fighter was if I was with a fighter that was fighting an ex-fighter of mine, that's where it'd be weird.
Well, that's what we might end up seeing if Anthony Joshua.
So Ben is obviously just going to take care of one fight at a time. If he gets to that position, then he's got to deal with it. But I'm sure it's like a football manager has great success with one club, leaves the club, then he goes to another club and he's competing against it. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So what is your prediction for Friday night?
I think Anthony Joshua. I think because of the level of competition that he's had consistently, I think the fact that he's in a place where he's trusting himself more and he's free flowing. I think. Don't get me wrong. I expect him to have worked on this, but I just feel as though when Tyson went at Ngannou's defense mechanism was to pull back, and he's pulling back wide, low left arm, right hand away, and he's leaving a channel for somebody to step in sharp with a nice 1-2. And I see that's what AJ will land at some point. Does he hard enough to completely unravel Ngannou? That's what I can't wait to find out. Because if it just bounces off his chin, then it's going to be, oh shit. And the other thing is even though I believe that AJ wins the fight, I believe there's jeopardy in it because of Ngannou's range and the fact that he's willing to punch in between and with, then AJ's got to land his shots and then negate that range without getting clipped on the way out, because all he's got to get caught is a scuffing shot on the way out on the top of the head. He's got to make sure he's exiting low and not coming out high and getting caught, because the first shot knocks you out. It doesn't have to knock you out. First shot knocks you off balance, and then the next shot, if he's going to throw 2 shots at a time or more, can walk him straight into the power shots. It's a fight that I expect AJ to win, but it's a fight that's got jeopardy in it for me.
Right.
So that for me, it's a good fight.
Right. Lastly, if you don't mind me asking you about Joseph Parker, Zhilei Zhang. A lot of people consider this one to be obviously the more competitive, actual quote-unquote boxing fight, I guess you could say.
Good fight.
Really good fight. How do you see that fight going?
Joseph Parker. I think this version of Joseph Parker, I think he's improved immensely with Andy Lee. I think the experience of having real fights, win or lose, real fights, has just made him mature into a much more complete fighter, a much more confident fighter, coupled with the technical improvements it's made with Andy. I see him winning the fight.
We also know what could lie ahead for Joseph Parker. I asked him last night, actually, and I said, hey, you know, what is the goal? After this, what do you see for yourself? And he goes, the top dogs. And I was like, well, you know who's sitting at the top, right? It's the homie. So I'm like, what do you do there? Like, do you never fight each other? And he was like, no, but you know what? I asked him. I was like, I know that they've always said that they would never fight each other. However, he did say, but I think that if Tyson got an opportunity that would absolutely change my life, that would give me an opportunity to take care of my family for life, that I think he would do it. And he goes, and that would be the only way he'd do it. So I asked Tyson about it, and I don't want to repeat the word he uses, C word, but jokingly. And he goes, well, then he goes down at 4, that C word. I could see that actually happening if that was the guy. I mean,
I don't. I think Fury would retire.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fury retire and let him fight for the belt. Let him fight for a belt.
Fair enough. Because I definitely think that the belts are going to be locked up for quite a bit.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. It's great seeing you here in Saudi Arabia. Let's see how everything goes down on Friday night, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you then.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you.
Nice.
Bye, fans.